Tulsa King is back for a second season on Paramount Plus, and we absolutely can't wait to see what's next for Sylvester Stallone in this role. He, of course, stars as Dwight the General Manfredi, a New York mafia boss who's exiled to Tulsa. In this new location, he assembles an unlikely crew and starts to build his new criminal empire. It's such a cool story, and the first season was downright phenomenal and showcased just how good of an actor Sylvester Stallone still is even in his older age. This man has aged like fine wine, both in looks and his acting prowess. He's absolutely incredible. This story sounded like something directly ripped out of the headlines, but if you've been thinking this, you're actually not alone. This hit Paramount Plus series has so many fans wondering if this is actually based on a true story. Simply put though, no. The premise of the story came from the creator Taylor Sheridan, the creative force behind Yellowstone and many other Paramount series. But the true story behind the creation of the show is actually as impressive as it would be if it was a real-life story that happened in the media. So let's get into the true story that inspired Sylvester Stallone's Tulsa King on Paramount Plus. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Taylor Sheridan wrote the script in just one day for the pilot episode. Jesus, that's super impressive, isn't it? It takes most writers weeks, maybe even months, to come up with the concept for the first episode, let alone a day to write the entire thing. David Glasser, Taylor's producing partner on the series, explained that he had told Taylor on a Friday that Sylvester Stallone had always wanted to play a gangster. Taylor started spitballing the idea immediately and instantly came up with a great concept that would then become Tulsa King. What a true mastermind of writing. And it's not like this show wasn't a hit either. All of that writing in one day was so good that Paramount has announced another season for the show. Taylor really is something, right? Just a week afterwards, the duo ended up pitching the series to Sylvester Stallone, who signed up along with showrunner Terrence Winter. If you recognize the name Terrence Winter, then you're already a huge fan of this sort of drama, as he's the writer behind The Sopranos and, of course, Boardwalk Empire. Here is another mastermind on this series. God, it's like the Avengers are assembling or something. Sylvester has since taken a lot of creative control of the show's creation. As with Sylvester Stallone, you need to realize you are getting the director, a writer, a producer, an editor, and, of course, an actor. He really is the whole package, and the guys knew what they were getting involved with. Of course, we already said that the Tulsa King isn't exactly based on a real story. It's not like it was based on one specific crime family and developed into a full television series. This isn't Narcos, for God's sake. But did you know that the Tulsa King is reportedly inspired by the Inzerillo crime family of Palermo, Italy? This was a crime family who was actually exiled to New York after a run-in with Salvatore Rina and the Sicilian Mafia. Ring any bells? Yeah, this sounds an awful lot like what goes on in Tulsa King, but with a little different context geographically. I guess it was inspired by something in real life, but not a direct copy like many other series tend to do. But the comparisons don't actually stop there. There are actually so many similarities in the series between the real-life family and, of course, the one in Tulsa King. But fans shouldn't go looking for clues about Season 2 in the family story, as the writers have already said that there are no direct adaptations from that real-life event. It's kind of sad, you know, a show like this not being based on something. But then again, it also makes it so much more impressive. Many shows like this that have huge success that are based on the mafia world and crime industry are often based on real-life events. And by based, we mean heavily influenced, like the characters, the stories, and even the progression of the family involved. So much is based on reality, and it's like the writers are adapting something rather than making their own story. There might be some similarities and influences from real life, but this story is truly its own, and the writers, alongside Sylvester Stallone, have crafted this beautiful storyline out of nothing. This is no direct adaptation of a real-life story, nor is it based on anything specifically. It has slight influences. But what doesn't nowadays in media? There's no way to be truly original anymore, so it's no surprise that Tulsa King has some slight comparisons to a real-life crime family. But at the end of the day, Tulsa King stands on its own as a phenomenal series that may or may not have been been inspired by slight real-life events. The writers, though, have crafted this beautiful story out of nothing, and they truly used their own skills to create it rather than basing it on a crime family. What an awesome show, and we can already see how it develops further. Speaking of how it might develop further, let's talk about Sylvester Stallone himself. Tulsa King has been a huge success for the actor, as we all know. I mean, he's basically the reason people watch it in the first place, right? He's already had a huge acting career, with successes like Rocky, Rambo, and The Expendables. This basically means he doesn't need to act, but Tulsa King was something he always wanted to do. As we said earlier in the video, Stallone has always wanted to play a gangster, and this was the perfect opportunity for him to do so. In fact, Tulsa King might actually be the last of his projects where he stars in something he's created himself. Though Tulsa King wasn't directly inspired by any true story, the creation of it itself was due to the efforts of several people. We already know that Taylor Sheridan was heavily involved in the early stages of the series, and even going forward. But as soon as Sylvester Stallone was brought onto the project, he had a lot of creative freedom. He knew exactly what he wanted to do with the series, and specifically crafted it so he could act perfectly in it. He even said that in terms of acting, this might be his swan song. If so, Tulsa King would make for a super fitting, if by all appearances premature, goodbye to Sylvester Stallone's acting career. The series was customized for the star, as Stallone kept tinkering with parts of production, as well as designing specific scenes, scripts, and even the tone of the show. He said in an interview that he tried to make it as personal as possible, as this role was something he'd always wanted to do. When compared to his past roles, playing Dwight was quite easy, he said. This is probably because he designed the role perfectly for himself, so he knew his strengths and weaknesses as an actor. This role is just perfect for him, and we cannot wait to see how season 2 plays out with the actor in the prime of his career. You might say it's not his prime, but we actually think you're wrong. Stallone might be an older gentleman nowadays, but he has perfected with age and has taken everything in stride. He really has become a better actor as he's aged, and if this is one of his last roles, then he's blowing it out of the water. We hope you enjoyed today's video.